sounds like it's in tune anyway. Hi everyone, my name is Kelly and welcome to the second part of this beginner series for clawhammer banjo. Today we're going to be focusing on some essential chords that you should know if you're learning to play the banjo. We're also going to use these chords to play two very basic songs. If you haven't watched the first video in this series, I highly recommend it. It focuses on the right hand and the bump diddy pattern. So make sure you have that pattern down because today we're going to focus on the left hand and we want to make sure that this right hand pattern here is automatic. So when we play clawhammer banjo, what I'm referring to here is that bump diddy pattern, the bump diddy pattern. We're not doing any picking. That would be 3-finger banjo or a 2-finger or thumb lead. All right, one thing we need to do before we start learning chords is to be able to count frets. Counting frets on the banjo is a very simple thing, but it is important because you're gonna need to know where to put your fingers. When we count frets on the banjo, the actual metal frets are these metal things here, but when we count, we don't actually count those things, we count in between. So for example, this would be the first fret, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on. Also, the strings are numbered 1 to 5. 1 is down here, and we count up like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I'd say about 80% of the action on the banjo is with your picking or strumming hand, and the rest is with our fretting hand. We're currently in G tuning. There are many tunings for the banjo. G tuning is probably the most common. So let's get into chords and see how they work. The first chord we're gonna play is called G major, and you probably already know it, even if you don't know it, because that's the way the banjo is tuned in this situation. G major. So that's nice because we really don't even have to do anything here. So 1 down, 3 to go. The next chord we're gonna play is called E minor. Here's what it sounds like. To play E minor, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my ring finger on the 2nd fret 1st string down here, like this. And then I'm going to put my middle finger on the 2nd fret 4th string right here. And while holding those two down, I'm gonna strum with the back of my pointer fingernail like this. Okay, again, that's 2nd fret 1st string and 2nd fret 4th string. If we look at the chord symbol for this, we'll notice that we have some circles above the strings. That means that those strings are not fretted and the strings are played open. Open means you just strum the string without pressing down. We have 2 notes that are fretted, these 2, and then we have 3 open strings. The 2nd string, the 3rd string, and the 5th string are played open. You can also try using different fingers. You can use your middle finger on the bottom string 2nd fret like this, and your pointer finger on the 2nd fret 4th string like that. The next chord we're gonna play is called C major. C major is very similar to E minor, except that we have to use an additional finger. Let's say we find E minor first and then go to C. I think that's the easiest way to do it since we just learned E minor. We're gonna play the 2nd fret 1st string, the 2nd fret 4th string with our ring and middle finger, and now we're gonna play the 1st fret 2nd string like this with our pointer finger. This requires us to use 3 fingers. I have a theory that the more fingers that we use to press down, the more difficult it is. Let's check that out again. So we're gonna play the 2nd fret 1st string with our ring finger, the 2nd fret 4th string with our middle finger, and the 1st fret 2nd string with our pointer finger like this. The 4th chord is called D7 and it sounds like this. To play D7, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our pointer finger on the 1st fret 2nd string and our middle finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string right here, and that is it. Let's find that D7 once more. 1st fret 2nd string, 2nd fret 3rd string. And the rest of the strings are open. 1st string's open, 4th string's open, and 5th string's open. So let's go back and cycle through those chords that we've learned so far. First we have G major, which is open like this. And then we have E minor, 2nd fret 1st string, 2nd fret 4th string. You can do a bump diddy pattern on each chord. And then C, there's a little trick we can do here, is we can just add our pointer finger to the 1st fret 2nd string. Bump, diddy. Or if you took your fingers off and you have to reset 2nd fret 1st string, 2nd fret 4th string, and then 1st fret 2nd string. To go to the D7, what we're going to do is put our pointer finger on the 1st fret 2nd string and the 2nd fret 3rd string. Now what I'm going to do is to play 2 bump ditties per chord and cycle through them a few times. G major. E minor. I'll go slowly. C major. D7. Now I'll go a little bit more quickly. G major. E minor. C, remember we can just add a finger here. D7. If the chord changes are already too fast for you, pause the video and cycle at your own pace. So how does one change chords quickly? What's the secret there? Well, there isn't really a secret per se, except that you just have to use a lot of repetition. So in order to play chords quickly or to switch between them very quickly, for example, like E minor, C, and D7, like that, you want that to be effortless and you need to develop muscle memory. You can only develop muscle memory if you use a ton of repetition. I mean, playing these chords over and over again for days, weeks, months, an hour a day. Obviously, the more you practice, the quicker you'll develop the muscle memory. It's kind of twofold. It takes a long time to develop it, but at the same time, once you do develop it, you will never have to relearn these chords and they'll probably stick with you for the rest of your life. It's like riding a bike. Another tip I can give to you is to practice passively, which means instead of playing the chord and then switching or whatever, you can just finger through the chords without doing any strumming at all. So you could just think through like E minor, C, D7, E minor, C, D7, just moving your fingers like that. This is also helpful if you have roommates that don't like listening to the banjo. Like a cat or a dog or something like that. Who wouldn't want to listen to the banjo? I don't get it. All right, I'll also give you guys a little overview of the chord diagrams and explain how those work. So this is a chord diagram for the chord C major. At the top we see the name of the chord, it says C, and then we see these vertical lines here. These represent the strings of the banjo. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we don't see the 5th string here, but that's because we just don't fret the 5th string when we play chords, so we don't have to represent it in this diagram. So the horizontal rows like this represent the frets. This would be the 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, and 5th fret. These circles here represent our fingers and where we press them down. So in this case, we see that our finger is pushing down on the 2nd fret 1st string, another finger is pressing down on the 1st fret 2nd string, and then another finger is pushing down on the 2nd fret 4th string. The little circle here at the top means that that string is played open. All right, let's learn some tunes. The first one we're gonna learn is called Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show. It sounds like this. It's a pretty simple song because it's just 8 measures repeating for the entire time. Okay, so here's how you're gonna play it. We're gonna start with a G and do 2 bump ditty patterns like this. So this song has a little swing to it, so it might be a little bit more difficult depending on how well you can swing. Typically, we play the bump ditty pattern with straight 8th notes, and they sound like this. This song has swing 8th notes, so it sounds like this. Okay, let's get back to learning the chords. So we're gonna do 2 bump ditty patterns on all of these chords, except for at the end. I'll show you where we do 4 on that one. 2 bump ditties on G major, like this. Next is D7, like this. E minor. And C. So that's 4 down, 4 measures. Next we repeat back to a G. D7. And C major, and we do 4 bump ditties on this. All right, let's play that progression again. G major. D7. E minor, C major, G major, D7, C major. There you have it. So in this song, they put a capo on the 2nd fret. And if you don't have a capo, that's okay. You don't really need one for this lesson, but I just want to show you how it works, just in case you have it, or if you plan on buying one. So this capo is like it's called a shub, and it works kind of like a vice grip, which is different than a lot of the capos that are spring-loaded. You squeeze them and clamp them on, but this one goes around like this, and I said it was on the 2nd fret, so I'd go to where the 2nd fret is and tighten it a little bit. Tighten it down and then clamp it, and then you strum, and it sounds noticeably higher. Okay, that's not all though, because we still have the 5th string to take care of. If we were to capo all of these strings and not touch the 5th string, it would sound out of tune like this. It actually sounds kind of cool in this situation, but that's not what we want for this song. Instead, what you have to do is you either have to crank this up, the 5th string up a whole step, from a G to an A, or if you have these railroad spikes like I do, then you can pinch the string underneath them and count from here 1, 2, which is relative to this, 1, 2. So the chords would be exactly the same as without the capo, but instead of counting this down here as 1, you start from the capo 1, 2, 3, and so on. So we just negate everything behind the capo. For example, G would be just open like that. In this case, it's actually an A because the capo transposes it. So E minor would look like this. Same thing as if it were down here, but just moved over 1, 2, C. And D7. One thing about capos is they make your banjo a little bit out of tune. So after you put a capo on, you'll probably have to retune slightly. I think my 5th string tends to go a little bit sharp, and I didn't fix it in this situation. But you might, if you're planning to stay capoed for a little while, you'll have to retune to that tuning. In this case, it would be A major tuning. Oh, thank God, the capo's off. Back to normal. All right, so the next song we're gonna learn is called Boil 'em Cabbage Down. Boil 'em Cabbage Down is a song that a lot of people learn as their first song, or Cripple Creek, or Cumberland Gap, or She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, I don't know, those old-timey type songs. Can't say that I've ever had boiled cabbage, but I can imagine that it doesn't smell good. I forgot to tell you that I'm live from the bridges of Madison County, as you can see in my background here. I hope you enjoy the scenery. Board of cabbage down, down, make them whole cakes brown, brown. Only song that I can sing is board of cabbage down. Okay, so here's what the song sounds like slowly. One thing I will say is that the faster you get with a bump diddy pattern, the smaller the motion will get with your right hand. So instead of attempting to strum like 4 strings or even all the strings, the movement becomes refined and you only strum like a few strings or 2 strings or even 1 string in some cases. So the difference here is playing the bump diddy pattern with your right hand, like trying to do all the strings. And then only doing a couple strings. As you can see, it becomes like automatic after a while, and it's just like the muscle memory for your chords. In your fretting hand, your right hand will basically have a mind of its own and just go. So for the chords for Boil 'em Cabbage Down, we're gonna start with a G and do 2 patterns of bump diddy. C major, 2 patterns. G major, 2 patterns. D7, 2 patterns. That's halfway. Now we're going to go back to G major, 2 patterns. C major, 2 patterns. And then 1 pattern of G and then 1 pattern of D7. So G, 1 pattern on D7, and then G major, 2 patterns. Let's go through that again. G major, 2 patterns. C major. G major. D7. G major. C major, 1 pattern on G major, 1 pattern on D7, and then back to G major, 2 patterns. Okay, so the chords in order without the strumming would sound like this. G, C, G, D7, G, C, G, D7, G. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel or like this video or leave me a comment. Have fun picking!